I want you to note that in the Gospel of Mark, the story of Peter walking on the water is told elsewhere, but it's not actually found in Mark. Jesus walking, yes. Not Peter. It's interesting. Let's see what we find, whether we find it or not. Let's quickly review. We saw another miracle. These two are juxtaposed right back and forth. Feeding of 5,000, which we saw, right? They didn't have time to eat. The little west and waxation at West. And the apostles and Yeshua went away in a boat to a secluded place by themselves, but the people saw them, and they followed them by land. They're going by sea, and they're following them by land. They get there first, and they get there ahead of. So no west and waxation for them. Jesus went ashore. He saw a large crowd. He felt compassion for them. Why did he feel compassion? Because they were like a sheep without a shepherd. And if there's one thing that our Lord is called in the New Testament and God himself throughout the Bible, including the Hebrew Bible, is that he is a shepherd, the shepherd of Israel. And the chief responsibility of Yeshua, as he saw it, was to teach the people. They were without a shepherd, therefore he would teach them many things. They were not without teachers in Israel. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of teachers, but not shepherds. And like a sheep without a shepherd, he became the shepherd for them and taught them many things, and it took all day. It was desolate, it was quite late, and Jesus said it was supper time, the apostles said, well, we should send the people away so they can get something to eat. Jesus says, you give them something to eat. We don't have enough money to buy something to eat. So Jesus says, take some inventory. How many loaves do we have in the crowd? Go look. And we've got 5 loaves and 2 fish. And they sat by groups very orderly on the grass, the green grass, because as Psalm 23 says, the Lord leads us sets us up in green pastures, and there are groups of hundreds and fifties. That's how they know exactly how many there are. Just 5,000 men on their own, not 5,000 people, 5,000 men. However many women and children there were is a different story. It's a larger group. And those 5 loaves and 2 fish were broken, and they were distributed. And this is the miracle. He kept giving them to the disciples to set before them. It's a never-ending source until he divided up all the food. They ate, they were satisfied until the people were satisfied, and until there was more than sufficient. One of the things that in the Jewish culture we strive for when we provide food for guests is to make sure that we always have not just enough food, but more than enough. And Jesus, being part of the Jewish culture, no exception, his mother taught him well. And they picked up 12 full baskets of the broken pieces, 1 basket for each apostle, if you will, or for each tribe of Israel, and also of the fish, and 5,000 men, plus women, plus children who ate the loaves. Now, we get to this evening stroll. Mark 6:45 through 56. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of Bethsaida, while he himself was sending the crowd away. So he is dismissing the crowd. He sends his disciples in the boat, that little boat that you saw in the video, and go prepare a thing. Go get a camp set up in Bethsaida. That is the village of Peter and various, the home village of various of the disciples. And after bidding them farewell, dismissed the crowds and his disciples, he had some alone time and he left for the mountain to pray. When it was evening, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he, Yeshua, was alone on the land. So you get the picture. Disciples floating in a boat, Yeshua on the ground, on the land. But Yeshua, from his vantage point, he sees them straining at the oars, for the wind was against them. At about the fourth watch of the night, it's like 3 a.m., he came to them, walking on the sea. Don't miss this. And he intended to pass by them. You gotta love this, right? First of all, middle of the night, 3 a.m. If you've been to Israel, you know that Galilee, if you're on the land looking out into the water, at nighttime, it's inky black. You see the stars, you see the lights of various different villages. Yeah, we see the lights of various different villages in the distance. But who can see what's going on out on the water? Look at that. You can barely make out. You see, of course, the lights of the city, of the town Tiberias, that is a distance away. But I'm not saying that Yeshua ate a lot of carrots, but his eyesight was supernaturally acute. And this is one of those instances where if you're not paying attention to the text, or if you're unfamiliar with the topography of the land and what things look like, et cetera, like Galilee at night, say, I don't care if Yeshua is up on a hill, if he's up on Mount Arbel looking out, you can't see what's going on in the sea. Because, again, you can barely see now, but there are, city lights, town lights that you can see. Now, imagine a world where there's no electricity and you don't even have the ability to light up an area and spill that over onto the sea because of the reflection. It's dark. And yet Yeshua saw it. It's one of those blink, pardon the pun, and you miss it, just who Yeshua is. Just how superhuman his senses are. You get a sense of that where, and Yeshua knew what was in the hearts of men, and see, Yeshua perceiving what people are discussing or thinking about. You get a good sense of that. But Yeshua's super powerful eyesight in this instance, believe me, that's something that got my attention as a reader. Seeing them straining at the oars, the wind was against them, about the fourth watch of the night. He came to them walking on the sea. And now I love this. I guess they weren't they're straining at the oars. And he says, they're not going to get there in any kind of reasonable amount of time. The best way for me to get over there is to take the express and go directly. The shortest distance between 2 points, right, is a straight line. So I'm just going to go to Bethsaida myself. He was intending to pass them by because he was making better time on 2 legs than they were in a boat. And I think of that scene from Captain America, Winter Soldier, where Cap continues to lap his new friend, Sam. And you have on your left, Am I the only person who saw Winter Soldier? Come on. Right? I know you at home. You've seen Captain America Winter Soldier, and you know the scene that I'm speaking of. But nonetheless, just as Cap kept passing Sam by, so too Yeshua intended to pass by the disciples, because at that time there was no signs saying no walking on water. Wasn't breaking any laws, and if you can make better time, do so. But when that's these disciples, when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a ghost. It was a spirit. It was, what's a ghost? Casper? It's Casper! Hey, can I get his autograph? No. They think that it is the spirit, someone who is dead, who has come back to haunt them. The spirit of the lake of the Sea of Galilee. For they all saw him and they were terrified. Their first conclusion, in other words, as they saw this figure in the distance, was not to say, well, we have seen Yeshua do a remarkable number of unique miracles. We have seen him exercise a unique amount of authority in the previous chapters. Perhaps this is the latest authority or power that our friend Yeshua is exercising. But they don't jump to that. That's not where they go. Even though it's juxtaposed against this incredible miracle that we've just seen of the multiplication of the loaves and fish. Because 5 loaves and 2 fish do not divide into 5,000 men plus women and children. Right? But immediately, he spoke with them. Remember, they're irrational. This is not a rational emotion that they're feeling right now. This is primal. This is from the kishkas. This is from the gut. They think they see the supernatural, and not in a good way. And immediately he spoke to them, with them, and said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Why would they take courage? It is I, do not be afraid. Well, maybe the fact that it's not a ghost, okay? It's just your friendly neighborhood Messiah out for an evening stroll on the sea, on the water. Take courage. I think part of it has to do with losing something in translation. This is a good translation. It is I. But nonetheless, the words, it is I, in the Greek, literally are the same words as Yeshua uses that are translated later on as I am. And we see Yeshua using this term, I am. Take courage. I am. Do not be afraid. We see this, of course. We see the Lord himself saying to Moses at the burning bush, Exodus 3, I am who I am. Thus you will say to the sons of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And Yeshua uses the same exact phrase with the same words that we see here in Mark. Jesus said to them in John 8, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was born, I am. It's unmistakable in this particular instance in John, that Yeshua is quoting Exodus 3. I am. In other words, you want to know who was speaking to you from the burning bush. I was there. And before Abraham was, I am who I am. The Son is no less God than the Father. So when we get to this passage, take courage. Well, you could translate it, and the American Standard has. It is I, it's me, c'est moi. That's French. Don't be afraid. I like to think that beyond that grammatically correct translation are the very words, ego eimi. It's exactly the same word, two words, ego eimi. I am. So if they want to know who this guy is, Yeshua is telling them. And your readers, if you want to know who this guy is, if you're wondering by the time we get here to the end of chapter 6, and you're still wondering who this guy is, there's a big fat clue right here. I am. Don't be afraid. I am. I'm not just a guy. I'm not even just a good teacher. I'm not even just the best teacher who's ever lived. I am God in human flesh. Perhaps the stroll along the water, not along the side of the water, but along the water itself. Perhaps that gave me away. Perhaps not. Perhaps the loaves and fishes gave me away. Because after all, who provides food for Israel when they hunger? If we know the stories of Moses and the wanderings of Israel, we know it is God who has provided the food. And so we have all of these small clues along the way as to who Yeshua is, including this latest one. Take courage, ego eimi, I am. Or it is I, if you don't have ears to hear. But either way, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Take courage, I am. Do not be afraid. Which makes a whole lot more sense when you're trying to tell people, don't be afraid. Who's in front of you? Your friendly neighborhood teacher, rabbi, or God himself? Then he got into the boat with them. He's just identified himself as I am. He's just walked from land to the beach, to the beach, to the sea. And he got into the boat with them. The wind stopped, and they were utterly astonished. We see the disciples and many others be utterly astonished. This is one of the grammatical phrases that keep popping up. The crowd was utterly astonished because they had never seen anything like this. The disciples were utterly astonished because they'd never seen what? We'll go through the list in a moment. But here they are utterly astonished. They are flabbergasted. For they had not gained any insight from the incident of the loaves, but their heart was hardened. Where's that cool story about Peter saying, if it's really you and not Casper or any kind of other ghost, bid me come to you, and stand next. We'll do a hora together on the sea. And Yeshua says, okay, come. Why isn't that story included in Mark? If you'll remember all the way back to our introduction, Mark is Peter's story. Mark is the account that of Peter. It's Peter's greatest hits as he shared it before he passed away, before he was executed. But what we have here, by its absence, is confirmation that indeed it was Peter whose story this was, because what could be more humble than Peter not including this, not taking away one smidge from the power of Yeshua, the incomparability of Yeshua walking on the water, by sharing even in a reflection of that glory. Because remember, Peter's not a failure in walking on the water. I don't see John or James, Nathaniel, saying, "Ooh, me too, me too. Let's go out there as a group effort." There's one guy and one guy only who has the faith to say, if Yeshua can do it, if Jesus can do it, then he can ensure that I can do it as well. So this is a story that doesn't reflect, it's like, yeah, but he sank, didn't he? No, it doesn't reflect poorly on Peter. It took chutzpah and a whole lot of faith to step over the side of that boat. And remember, he steps over the side of the boat and he doesn't immediately sink. He steps over the side of the boat and he stands. That's an extraordinary moment. No wonder Peter, wanting to put all the glory on Yeshua, excludes it from his story. But I don't exclude it because I think it's super cool. And hooray for Peter. And while Peter winds up, after this momentary success, getting distracted, taking his eyes off of Yeshua, immediately he begins to sink. The issue is that Yeshua immediately was there. Peter didn't drown that day. Because if you weigh, I don't know what he weighed. Let's say the guys were a little bit smaller back then. So let's say he weighed 150 pounds. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? You stand in the water. The moment that you're not standing, you're like an arrow, right? Water dynamics. You're shooting down, like you saw in the video. You're going down like a rock, And if Peter was actually as buff as he most likely was, he was called Rocky after all, but he's a fisherman by trade, and a fisherman by trade, by design, would have been buff, hauling in all those nets, whatever. So not a lot of body fat, okay, on this guy. More evidence, again, this guy sink like a stone. That's what I always say, when I have friends who have kept on the very slim side. I say, yeah, okay, yeah, I may not be as slim as you, but if you were in the water, you go down like a rock. Choom! Right? I at least have a chance to float a little bit. But they'd not gained any insight, and their heart was hardened. So, They'd all eaten well, and they needed that nutrition. They needed that carbs, right? Because they were straining at, there was a lot of exercise that they were going to have. But nonetheless, after that first miracle, and this is why these two are juxtaposed together by Peter and, of course, by John, by design, disciples' stomachs are full, but their hearts were hardened. And they could not see, they could not grasp who Jesus was. So again, where was Peter in this account? We've talked about that. Let's look at the authority of Yeshua that we've seen thus far in the book of Mark. Hebrew Scriptures, he's authority over Hebrew Scriptures, over demons, over disease. We're going in order of the chapters. Leprosy, the mother of diseases. Authority over forgiveness of sins. Authority over the Shabbat, Sabbath. Nature itself, a veritable legion of demons. Death. Little girl, arise. And now, between the loaves and the water, the laws of physics themselves. Yeshua's authority is extraordinary. It's demonstrated here in two big miracles. We covered them in 2 various weeks. So what are you going to do with that information? Is this something to tuck away for trivial pursuit? Is this something to tuck away in case you ever need to be drafted into teaching a Sunday school class? Is it good stories for Sunday school? For education? What are you going to do with Yeshua's authority? You have information that you may or may not have had before that should call you to action. What are you going to do about it? The first thing you've got to ask yourself is Yeshua's authority truly all sufficient to address whatever the most recent fine mess you may find yourself immersed in? That's where this hits for life. We all have bumps. We all have potholes, speed bumps on the road of life that make us take pause and say, oy vey, or oh no, or what are we really going to do about this? Whether it be financial, whether it be health, whether it be emotional, relational, family. Does Yeshua's authority, which you saw a whole list there, including the last two, authority, which included or summed up breaking the laws of physics themselves, that's a lot of authority. Does Yeshua have sufficient juice to help you? Or are you on your own? Does he have sufficient leverage to straighten things, to straighten you, straighten your life out? You think about the miracle of Yeshua and the walking on water, and Peter. Peter didn't have the authority to break the laws of physics. Yeshua extended that authority to him. And when Yeshua, maybe Peter, pick it up. And when Yeshua grasps Peter, who, remember, is sinking like a stone in that water, and pulls him up, where's the leverage that Yeshua is using to pull him up coming from? Think about that. If somebody is sinking you've got to stand on something solid in order to have leverage to be able to pick him up. Where is Yeshua's leverage? Not in the water. Water is liquid. You all know what water feels like. Yeshua, his leverage is intrinsic. The very fact that he's able to walk across water and then to lift up someone else from within the water and pick him up, that requires a tremendous amount of leverage. Leverage in life is so critical, right? How much leverage do you have at work? It means how much can you get away with? How much latitude do you have? How much leverage do you have financially? Can you extend your finances with a car loan or a home loan or other kind of loan, a HELOC, whatever case? Depends on how much financial leverage you have. How much heavy lifting can you do? I tell you, when it comes to walking on water, I got no leverage at all. But Yeshua has all the leverage in the world. So if you find yourself flat on your tuchas, and you all know what tuchas is, your back pocket. When you find yourself on your tuchas at work, or in life, or with your family, or financially, or with your kids, or with your parents, wherever. It's hard to have enough leverage to get up. But you know who has unlimited leverage? Unlimited leverage to straighten your life out is Yeshua. Let us trust him and his authority, his unlimited authority, his incomparable power to guide every day and every hour of our lives. Well, story ends like this. They crossed over, they came to the land at Gennesaret, and they moored to the shore. What happens to them there? Once they finish that one adventure, on to a next adventure. I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave you in suspense. We'll pick it up next time. Let's stand for the Aaronic benediction.